Have you ever caught a glimpse of a new spot on your arm? Or noticed a mole that just seems a little off? It's a common moment, isn't it? Maybe you dismiss it. Tell yourself it's nothing. Or perhaps a flicker of worry crosses your mind. Quickly pushed away because life is busy. That tiny spot, that barely noticeable change, often feels like a minor detail in the grand tapestry of our days. But sometimes, those seemingly small details carry a silent whisper, a quiet message that our bodies are trying to send us. The painful reality is that we often ignore these whispers, either out of fear or simply because we don't know what they're trying to say. This oversight, this delay, can sometimes lead to far greater challenges down the road. What if I told you there are certain signs on your skin that can be incredibly powerful indicators? Silent signals that you absolutely shouldn't ignore. These aren't always dramatic or alarming, which is precisely why they often go unnoticed or are easily dismissed. In this video, we're going to gently explore some specific skin changes that could be those quiet warnings. And more importantly, what steps you can take if you spot them. We'll look at the common and the not so common, giving you the knowledge to look at your skin with fresh, informed eyes. Watch to the end for something that will truly surprise you about how simple it can be to protect yourself. Let's begin by focusing on what many of us think of when we consider skin health moles. Moles are a very common part of our skin, and most of them are completely harmless. We've had them for years. They've stayed the same, and they're just part of us. But sometimes, a mole can start to change, or a new one can appear that looks a little different from the others. These are the ones that deserve our closer attention, not with panic, but with careful observation. Think of it like this. Your skin is your body's largest organ, and it's constantly renewing itself, constantly exposed to the world. It's also incredibly good at telling you when something might be amiss, if you know how to listen. We often hear about the ABCDE rule for checking moles, and it's a brilliant, straightforward guide for a reason. Let's break it down in a way that truly makes sense and feels actionable for you. First, A stands for asymmetry. Imagine drawing a line through the middle of your mole. If the two halves don't match each other, if one side looks very different from the other, that's a sign to note. A typical, harmless mole is usually symmetrical, like a perfect little circle or oval. But if one side is lopsided or a different shape, that's a subtle shift we want to pay attention to. Think of it like a perfectly round button versus one that's a bit squashed on one side. Next up is B, which refers to the border. Look closely at the edges of your mole. Are they smooth and even, like the outline of a neatly cut cookie? Or are they irregular, jagged, notched, or blurred and uneven? Scalloped or poorly defined border is another important sign. Sometimes, harmless moles can have slightly irregular borders, of course, but if you notice this characteristic, especially combined with other signs, it warrants a closer look. Then we have C for color. This is a big one. Most benign moles are a uniform shade of brown, tan, or black. But if your mole has multiple colors within it, shades of tan, brown, black, even red, white, or blue, that's a significant warning sign. Imagine a paint palette where someone has dabbed several different colors onto one small spot. That variety of color, or a mole that's suddenly much darker in one area, is a strong indicator that it needs to be checked by a professional. And then there's D, for diameter. This refers to the size of the mole. If a mole is larger than 6 millimeters, which is roughly the size of a pencil eraser, it's worth noting. Now, a larger size doesn't automatically mean it's dangerous, but it's a general guideline. Many harmless moles can be larger than this. But if you have a new mole that's already this size, or an existing one that suddenly grows beyond this, it's definitely something to bring to your doctor's attention. Finally, and perhaps most crucially, there's E for evolving. This means any change in your mole over time. Has it changed in size, shape, color, or elevation? Is it starting to itch, bleed, or crust? A mole that is evolving, meaning it's noticeably changing in any way from how it used to be, is the most concerning sign of all. This is where truly knowing your own skin becomes your greatest superpower. Perhaps you have an old photograph where you can see a mole, and now it looks different. Or maybe a mole that used to be flat is now raised. These changes, no matter how subtle, are the body's way of saying, please pay attention here. It's not about memorizing a checklist for every single mole on your body, but rather about noticing when something is genuinely new, or when an old friend starts to behave differently. We often have moles in places we can't easily see, like our backs, the backs of our legs, or even on our scalp. This is where a trusted partner, a family member, or even a good full-length mirror and a hand mirror can become invaluable. Make it a monthly habit, perhaps the first of every month, to do a full-body skin check. Take your time, be thorough, and don't be afraid to ask for help with those hard-to-reach spots. Remember, these are general guidelines, not definitive diagnoses. The purpose is to empower you to notice changes, not to make you worry unnecessarily. These ABCDEs are primarily for detecting melanoma, which is the most serious type of skin cancer. However, there are other very common skin cancers that also deserve our attention. Things like basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma are far more prevalent, and while usually less aggressive, they still require prompt treatment. Basal cell carcinomas often appear as a pearly or waxy bump, a flat, flesh-colored or brown scar-like lesion, or sometimes a sore that just keeps bleeding and crusting over but doesn't heal. Squamous cell carcinomas might look like a firm, red nodule, or a flat, scaly, crusted lesion. They often pop up on sun-exposed areas like your face, ears, neck, lips, or the back of your hands. They might feel tender or sore. The key here is persistence. If something appears and just doesn't go away, if it keeps returning, or if it bleeds with minimal trauma, that's a sign that it needs a professional look. The wonderful thing about skin cancer, especially these more common types, is that they are highly curable when caught early. It's truly about vigilance and timely action. So, while the ABCDE rule is a fantastic tool for melanoma, remember that other persistent, non-healing, or unusual spots also warrant a check. Now that we've really gone into detail about moles and those more common bumps, let's consider some other less obvious, but equally important, silent signals our skin might be sending us. Moving beyond the common mole checks, let's talk about another type of skin change that can be easily overlooked: a sore that simply refuses to heal. Picture this. You get a small cut, a scratch, or a little bump that scabs over. Our bodies are amazing at healing, and usually, within a few weeks, that spot is gone, leaving barely a trace. But what if it doesn't? What if a sore, a scab, or a lesion on your skin just lingers for weeks on end, never quite closing up, sometimes bleeding a little, sometimes crusting over, but never fully resolving? This persistent non-healing is a significant red flag. It might not look like a typical mole or a scary-looking lump. It could be flat, or even slightly sunken. It could appear on an area that doesn't get much sun, which is why it can be so baffling and easily dismissed. Perhaps you think you picked at it, or it got irritated, and that's why it's not healing. But if 2 or 3 weeks go by and it's still there, still open, still scabbing, or prone to bleeding easily, it needs to be seen by a doctor. This kind of non-healing lesion is a common presentation for both basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma, which, as we discussed, are the most prevalent forms of skin cancer. They might mimic a persistent pimple, a scratch that won't mend, or even a small ulcer. Don't just assume it's an annoying spot that will eventually go away. Your body is trying to tell you something. Think about the spots that might develop on your lips. If you have a persistent sore on your lip that won't heal, especially on the lower lip, that's another area to be particularly watchful of. Often, people with a history of sun exposure, especially those who might have spent a lot of time outdoors in their youth, are more susceptible. The sun doesn't just affect the skin on your arms and face. Your lips are also vulnerable. Next, let's consider something even more subtle and often completely out of sight: dark streaks under your nails. This is a less common sign, but it's crucial to be aware of. If you notice a new, dark, vertical streak or band under one of your fingernails or toenails that isn't from an injury or bruise, meaning you haven't hit your finger with a hammer. For example, it could be a form of melanoma called subungual melanoma. This type of melanoma can be particularly insidious because it often goes unnoticed until it's more advanced, precisely because people don't think to check under their nails for cancer signs. It might start as a brownish or black streak, sometimes widening over time, or causing the nail to split or lift. This isn't a common fungal infection, nor is it a random bruise that fades. It's a persistent discoloration that warrants immediate medical attention. Remember, your nails, like your skin, can show signs of underlying health issues. So, as you trim your nails or apply lotion, take a moment to look at them too. They can tell you a story. Now, let's talk about rough, scaly patches, particularly on sun-exposed areas. These are often called actinic keratoses. They are not skin cancer themselves, but they are considered precancerous lesions. Think of them as warnings, or early-stage indicators that your skin has suffered a lot of sun damage over the years. They often appear as rough, dry, scaly patches or spots, sometimes feeling like sandpaper to the touch. They might be pink, red, or flesh-colored, and they don't go away with moisturizer. They are most common on the face, scalp, ears, lips, back of the hands, and forearms, if left untreated. A small percentage of actinic keratoses can develop into squamous cell carcinoma. The good news is that because they're precancerous, treating them early can prevent full-blown cancer from developing. There are various effective treatments available, from creams to freezing. So if you notice these rough, persistent patches, mention them to your doctor. It's a proactive step in preventing something more serious down the line. Finally, there's the ugly duckling sign. This isn't about one specific characteristic, but rather about comparison. You know your own skin better than anyone. You have dozens, maybe hundreds, of moles and spots. Most of them probably look fairly similar to each other. They're all swans. But then there's one that just doesn't fit in. It stands out. It looks different from all your other moles. Maybe it's much darker, much larger, or has a completely different shape or texture than the rest. That ugly duckling mole, the one that looks significantly different from its companions, is another important signal. Our brains are incredibly good at pattern recognition, and if your brain flags a particular spot as being not like the others, listen to that intuition. This intuition, combined with the ABCDEs, can be a powerful tool for early detection. It's about being observant without being obsessive. It's about empowering yourself with knowledge. Every one of these signs, whether it's a changing mole, a non-healing sore, a dark nail streak, or a rough patch, points to the same underlying principle: listen to your body. And don't hesitate to seek professional advice when something seems off. And remember, taking a clear photo of a suspicious spot with a ruler next to it can be incredibly helpful for your doctor to track changes over time. Next, we'll dive into how all this knowledge truly empowers you and what simple, surprising daily habit can make the biggest difference of all. We've talked about the ABCDEs of moles, the stubborn non-healing sores, the surprising streaks under your nails, and those rough, scaly patches that hint at past sun exposure. We've also touched on the ugly duckling sign, that intuitive feeling when a spot just doesn't belong with the others on your skin. It might seem like a lot to remember, a myriad of things to constantly monitor. And I understand if that feels a little overwhelming at first. But let me reassure you, the goal here is not to create anxiety or to turn you into someone who spends every waking moment scrutinizing every inch of their skin. Quite the opposite. In fact, the purpose of understanding these silent signs is to empower you, to give you the confidence to know what to look for, so you can live your life fully and freely, secure in the knowledge that you are taking proactive steps for your health. It's about being aware, not afraid. Think of it as knowing the secret language of your skin, a language that, once understood, allows you to address potential issues early, when they are most treatable. That's the true power. Remember, early detection is absolutely key with skin cancer. The vast majority of skin cancers, when caught in their earliest stages, are highly treatable, often with simple procedures. The real challenge comes when these signs are ignored for too long. So, what's the surprising thing I mentioned at the beginning that can make the biggest difference of all? It's something incredibly simple, free, and entirely within your control. It's consistent, thorough self-examination, coupled with knowing when to seek professional help. The surprising part isn't a magic pill or a complex routine. It's the profound impact of just dedicating a few minutes each month to truly look at your own skin. Most skin cancers are found by individuals themselves, not by doctors. You are your own first and best line of defense. So, how do you make this surprisingly effective habit a regular part of your life? Pick a day each month, perhaps the first day of the month, or a day that's easy for you to remember. Like the day you pay a particular bill or do a specific household chore, make it your skin check day. Find a well-lit room. Grab a full-length mirror, a hand mirror, and if you have one, a magnifying glass. Start from your head and work your way down, systematically examining every area. Don't forget your scalp part, your hair, and use a hairdryer to move sections around so you can see your skin underneath. Check your ears, behind them, and your neck. Move to your face, your nose, your lips, your mouth, then your arms, paying close attention to your hands, palms, and in between your fingers. Don't forget your elbows and armpits. Move to your torso, front and back, using the hand mirror to see your back and other hard-to-reach areas. This is where a partner can be incredibly helpful. If you have someone you trust to help you check your back, buttocks, and the back of your thighs, it's a very intimate and important act of care. Finally, check your legs, feet, the soles of your feet, and in between your toes. Yes, even the soles of your feet and under your toenails. Melanoma can appear in these non-sun exposed areas, especially in people with darker skin tones. So never assume a spot is harmless just because it's not on your face or arm. As you do this monthly check, you'll become intimately familiar with your unique landscape of moles and spots. You'll learn what's normal for you, and when something does appear that's new, or an existing spot changes, you'll be much quicker to notice it. If you find something that concerns you, a mole fitting any of the ABCDE criteria, a sore that won't heal, a new, odd-looking spot, or anything that just feels off, the next step is straightforward. Make an appointment with your doctor. They are the experts, and they can properly assess the spot and determine if further action is needed. It's always better to be safe than sorry. And most of the time, your concern will be met with reassurance that it's nothing serious. But for that small percentage of times, it is something. Your proactive approach could make all the difference. Remember, small changes truly can make a big difference to your health and happiness. Being proactive about your skin health is a profound act of self-care. It's about giving yourself the gift of peace of mind, knowing that you're doing everything you can to stay healthy. This isn't about living in fear, but about living with awareness and empowerment. We've gone through some really important information today, and I hope it's left you feeling more informed and confident. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Have you ever noticed a surprising skin change that led you to your doctor? Share your stories or questions in the comments below, as your insights can help others in our community too. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more content that empowers you to live your best life at every age.